the endorsement, but and I'm open to that. You know, whether it's if the races are solely contained in Grafton Township, maybe we let Grafton Township do it. Maybe the county GOP only tackles state legislative, congressional, and whatnot, you know, countywide races. I don't know. I'm open to that, but there has to be something, because you will continue to have an ineffectual political apparatus if you don't have some sort of carrot and stick. And the one you'll always have as a party is the stick, or at least the threat of the stick. And frankly, you should also view the endorsement not just as a stick, right? That's the stick only if the candidate themselves isn't expecting your endorsement because they weren't able to, you know, fulfill the party objectives. It's a carrot to people who actually carry out those objectives, and that should be something that's considered in the endorsement process, along with obviously, you know, tenure, how long, you know, your history with the party, you know, your previous efforts, your ability to fundraise, you know, how's your district's political makeup and where do you fall in it. Like I said, I'm not the best candidate to run. You know, if I was running in Chicago, I would not be the candidate to run. I'm too conservative. All these things should be considered, but you have to get involved. If you don't, we're just going to continue to flounder as a party.
Wayne, do you have any thoughts on that question as well?
Yes, I do. I don't think we should endorse in the primary.
Personally, or party-wise?
Throughout the party and throughout the county or throughout the state and federal elections. I know what happens during elections. It gets dirty. And if we have some people down in Marengo that have a favorite candidate, you have a person in Harvard that's got a favorite candidate, maybe one in Crystal Lake. And all of a sudden, they're hurrahing for their candidate. I know how things normally slide downhill and become ugly. Then you get, he said this guy's the best candidate, but that guy says he's a no-good rat. Sooner or later, someone's gonna win and someone's gonna lose. And if all of the candidates have been stabbed in the back, you're gonna have plenty of people in the county that are gonna sit there and say, oh, that guy's no good, I'm not voting for him. He's our candidate. But too bad, all that dirt that came out makes him look like a rat. So he doesn't win. Then what happens? We have our absolute worst nightmare come true. The Democrat gets in. If in an ideal utopian world, nobody would sling mud. But that's not a fact of life. The fact of life is we have people right now slinging mud at different candidates, weakening the Republican Party before the primary. So with elections that are won and lost by 0.5%, losing to a Democrat, we get our worst nightmare. He will never vote for one thing that the Republican Party stands for. I do not think we should endorse in a primary. I believe that if you have a guy that you really like, get your like-minded people out there, work the precincts, get your guy in. If you don't have the people working for the best candidate, we're gonna get stuck with who we get stuck with. But it's still better than someone who won't vote with us even one time, and that's the Democratic Party.
Well said. Thank you. So we're going to open this up to any questions from the audience here. Kirk, are you an unbiased question asker?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Pass the mic around back and forth.
Yeah, so I just want to say this. I know, Eric, you and I have had this conversation, and I thought about it. And I come down on the side of not endorsing in the primaries for this reason. We are now the party of the working man and family, okay? When a little guy comes to us and says, hey, I'm running for school board, okay? But somebody within the party already says, well, I really like Nancy Smith, and she's just perfect, And we give her money to go out and buy her signs, to do this, to do that. And we're slighting the other person, the person who maybe can't afford those signs and the outreach that they need. So what we need to do is stand behind our candidates, and like Wayne said, we all do this. We all talk amongst each other, and we say, hey, I really like Pat Sullivan, okay? And I think we ought to vote for him, but on an official level, as a Republican, as a member of the Republican Party, we say, hey, well, we got Pat Sullivan, we got Eric Hendricks, and these are the choices this time around, okay? And so it's fairer that way, and there's no dark side to it. Who's kidding who? The Democrats, it's all about this, okay? And that's not us. We have integrity, okay? We trust in a higher power, okay? And we're here to help the little guy.
So I guess I have a question for as a commentary, all right? Anyone else? Questions?
Thanks for pointing that out.
All right, you're welcome. Here.
Questions, please.
So you guys mentioned website and email newsletter. What about other social media? Do you have any expertise there, or any plans, or any priorities?
Back up. Give it to the 35-year-old.
Social media, it's not that hard to do the advertising, but really it's gonna be about building it up. There is one individual who I hope to have assist with that whole process, as far as both building up followers as well as figuring out ways how to build the outreach. But also my wife is in marketing and she's done social media stuff before, so I'll probably lean on her. Sorry in advance, Natalie. But it's really not that, I don't find it that difficult. Anytime I've wanted, getting media attention hasn't exactly been difficult for me when I've wanted to do it. I challenged an opponent's petitions once, and there was an article about it. It got picked up by the AP. There was an article about it in like the Dallas Star and the San Franciscan Chronicle or something like that. Social media, same thing. When I pointed out with something that I have an issue with on the board, it's gotten thousands and thousands of views. It's really about articulating a short, concise thing that I guess frames the topic. Not every media post is going to be sexy and get shared for thousands of views, but it's more about putting it out there and giving, I guess, the people who have better things to do with their life than pay attention to local politics, giving them the opportunity to be able to follow along and go, oh, you know what, the Republican Party posts, a few times a week, and their stuff's actually pretty good, or the stuff they share is pretty good. So yeah, no specific, I guess, expertise other than from what I've done campaigning, or fighting things I don't like, or supporting things that I do.
Well, we've been trying to get the website updated, and I believe what Donald Trump, our president, said. If he wouldn't have had TikTok, he wouldn't have got elected. I think we have to move out past what we're doing in the local area. I think we need to have someone that spends a few days a week updating the site, putting in things on TikTok, so we can draw the young people in. Without the young people, the Republican Party does not have a future. We have to bring in the young people.
Amen.
I just want to say thank you, gentlemen, for, stepping up to do this. And, my experience in knocking on doors is that when people listen to what the GOP stands for, if you're an independent, they will vote for us, they will be with us. However, Democrats don't play that way, okay? In their mind, it's not votes that win elections, it's ballots. And that gentleman right there, Eric, knows exactly how the Democrats play. They know when 5 ballots are dropped at an address, and they know to go there, and they know to say a bunch of crap about Republicans and lie. And short of taking their pen and writing on the ballot, okay, they can get that person or those ballots signed by anybody at that house and collect those ballots, okay, and take them and put them in a ballot box. So now, what are we gonna do about that? You can go to a place where there's 4 ballots and that gets filled out. Now we gotta make that up by knocking on doors and talking about our values. So my question is, how are we going to compete with the Democrats and the way they ballot harvest?
Yep.
It's a good question, right? And I know most, if not everybody here, would prefer that there was no vote by mail, at least as a general option, right? We'd all rather prefer it be election day, on election day, you go in person.
It's coming. It's coming.
But I will say this, absent some, big court decision, ruling that, XYZ is no longer allowed or what have you, we have to deal with reality. Reality is Democrats have every statewide office in Illinois. They have super majorities in the state Senate and the state legislature. They also passed a law that says you can't even challenge the constitutionality of things unless you challenge it in Cook County or Champaign-Urbana, which are where they have majority Democrat judges, okay? So you can do one of 2 things. There's the principled approach, which is we're gonna work extra hard, we're gonna do it correctly, we oppose this. Then there's the less principled approach, which is the approach I advocate for, which is fight dirty. They fight dirty, why don't we? We should do the same thing they did. Orange County, by the way, Orange County, California, Republican County in California, got destroyed during the COVID election. Okay, got destroyed. They proceeded to push the limits of the law to such an extent that the Democrat Attorney General of California sued the Republican Party of Orange County, saying they were going too far with it. I like that approach. I've always kind of been more of a, this is politics, it's a knife fight, bring a gun to it. There's several things we can do to win and compete, and yeah, it's a bummer, right? But I didn't make the rules. We didn't make the rules. So until you can change the rules of the game, you play as aggressively as you can by those rules. I think one thing we could do, there's churches that are certainly conservative leaning, right? That you can set up Dropbox ballots at and say, hey, if you want, drop it off here, just sign this person's name, they'll come pick it up and bring it into you. The other thing, by the way, this isn't me just, coming up with ideas. I'm basically taking the ideas, or at least some of the ideas from the Orange County, California Republican parties and how they went from losing the seat to winning the seat in 2 years. We do the same thing at gun shops, especially Kane County, surrounding counties, right? Gun shops, Henry County gun shops, Kane County gun shops. There's nothing stopping us from doing this. And are there some legal quirks to it? Yes, but I know a guy who could look into it, and it's me. And this allows us to compete. And I'll tell you what, my dad works at a gun store and worked at a gun store, and there's not that many Democrats going into gun stores. Okay, it's mostly independent people or conservative Republicans. It's a great way to get people who care about that issue to make sure they get out and vote, because they're going there anyway. just turn it in next time. Oh, you're not signed up? Here, fill this in. You know, mail it in, or we can mail it in for you, what have you. But you have to play, in my opinion, you have to play aggressively. If you don't play aggressively, you're just handicapping yourself. You're trying to run a race with one leg or a peg leg. It's not a winning strategy. And I guess to answer your question, Tony, yeah, I don't want to do that either, and I don't know if you want to do it. I don't know your position on it, but I think it's just like, just like how I think the party has to get involved in primaries to some extent. And just to clarify that real quick, I don't mean every primary, okay? You can endorse 2 candidates. I'm just talking about when there's an obvious candidate that does not propound the ideology of the Republican Party. That's when I would say get involved more. But going back to this, you might not agree with me or not, and I respect it either way. But I hope you can respect my position, which is I want to kick their ass. And if you're not going to do that unless you play aggressively, cheat to win, or get at least as close to cheating as you can to go ahead and win.
Can I comment to that? I agree with you. So my experience working with Tim, updating lists of voters, they haven't turned in ballots. He works his ass off, but we get the information sometimes several days late, where Democrats on their phone can look at it and say, we gotta hit that address because we know that 4 ballots dropped there yesterday, okay? And then they'll show up and they'll lie, or they'll make a phone call. I mean, they're so far ahead of us. And obviously this app that they use costs millions of dollars that we don't have. So, I mean, I don't know if there is an answer without money. It just annoys me to no end that they can play that game, okay? And in this state, there really is nothing illegal. And I'm sure they probably do go to a retirement home and take the guy's hand and fill out the ballot. The one thing that they can't do, they still do. So, I don't know, I just want us to figure out a way to be better at it, I think. And not to diminish anybody's effort, but I think we gotta play this game a little better.
So I think, Eric, the church that you're talking about is the church that I attend online, and they do a great job getting ballots from their constituency. And they're not afraid that they're gonna be sued or lose their 503 status. And so we have to, like you said, be bold about that. And it's legal. I don't think that's cheating. So, because they're the ones that put those laws in place. I mean, we can verify that, but they're doing it, and they're still a church.
So I guess the big opportunity with the Conservative Party is get them off their ass and get them out of the vote. I mean, we only have 20% turnout, 30% turnout on a good day. We get 50% turnout, or, you know,
Well, and that's
all that. It's, we have to inspire them to get up to vote, right? The reason to vote. So,
Well, and that's the thing, I agree, but, you know, I'm not gonna inspire every single conservative to get out and vote, but I'm gonna do my best to make sure they vote.
If they know they're
And if that requires me to go to their door to collect their ballot, then by all means, we should do it. Not everybody's gonna be as passionate as we are, but that doesn't mean we should discount their vote or not pursue it. Like I said, they've set the rules. Until we can change the rules, we should play by them as aggressively as possible.
That's the way I think you made it with your comments.
The thought I had was, Eric here had some good points, but you have to play the game by the rules that we're given. I worked in the election in 20 and 22. After the election was over, I did a forensic on the ballots that were placed for the Democrats and the ballots that were placed for the Republicans in early voting. They were between 22 and 28% ahead of the Republican. That means we have to have such a major turnout on election day, it's hard to beat those odds. The rules are early voting. We need to beat them at their own game. I sat there and I worked both elections and the 24 election also. We didn't even get the palm cards out before early voting started. It was pathetic. The candidates didn't even have the palm cards in our county until after people are already voting. How can we compete? We have to get this information in early, probably the end of August, so it can get put in envelopes with all the bags, so we can have all the candidates and we can start early like they're doing. We're starting 3 weeks, 4 weeks before the election. The Democrats are already beating us by 10 or 15% by then. We need to be organized. We need to work as a team. We need to tell the candidates, hey, this isn't 1980 or 1990. These people have early voting now. We have to compete.
All right, the last question from the crowd, anyone? Are we complete? Oh, Ted, do you have a question?
Yeah, how is it that we as Republicans are on the right side of every issue and we struggle against the Democrats? Can you speak to that?
Our biggest group of people that are anti-Republican are white women. We have to stop telling women what they should do, what we want them to do, what they shouldn't do. They have brains, they're intelligent, they're talented, they work hard. You cannot tell a woman, you have to do this, or you can't do that. You have to bring them in with issues that will warm their heart and bring them to us. No, we've been pushing them away for years. If we don't have the white woman voter in this country, we're not going to win elections.
Eric?
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Well, first off, are you speaking more statewide and nationally, Ted? Because McHenry County won 12 out of the 13 seats this past cycle in McHenry County. I'm very happy and proud of that.
Amen.
And we came about this close to doing a clean sweep. We lost by about 200 votes in District 2 for the county board, but otherwise, every single election was won by a Republican. Part of it was what Wayne said. We got out early. We were able to, I was able to, both for myself and for other candidates, stuff bags to hang, to go to door, knock on constituent doors with, spread the good news about the their local Republican candidates. As far as statewide, which is probably what you're getting at more, it's tough because, statistically you have to win, pretty much you have to win every single county in Illinois, a majority, and then you have to get about 35% of the vote in Chicago. That's tough. That's tough to do, especially when we're the last, consistently red collar county. We have to be able to flip all those other collar counties, plus increase our turnout in Chicago. So it's a tough issue, and what makes it even tougher, frankly, is how badly Illinois has been gerrymandered. When you say, oh, how come we get our butts kicked? Well, part of it is because they did a good job getting power and wielding the power. It's something I wish Republicans were better at, frankly. Just in general, and you've seen what can happen when that starts to happen at the federal level, right? Mitch McConnell, love him or hate him, Mitch McConnell refused to see the Supreme Court justice, or to have a hearing on a potential Supreme Court justice when Antonin Scalia passed away. And guess what? Now we have a 6-3 I guess, Republican to Democrat majority on the US Supreme Court, in large part because he wasn't afraid to take that step. When Republicans get power, I feel like sometimes they want to do the right thing, or how in an ideal world it will be, and that involves negotiations with the other side and what have you, but it never seems to work the other way. You're starting to see a more, I guess, muscular, aggressive Republican Party nationwide. It's something we need to do statewide. I mean, we didn't even challenge the state party, and I have no there's things everybody can work on, but I think Kathy Salvi's done a good job with the party, frankly, statewide since she's been in charge. But the fact of the matter is we kind of dropped the ball in not challenging the maps when they were first drawn. They drew the congressional maps and the state maps, and we didn't challenge them. And then we did recently, and we lost because the judge said we waited too long. So there's things that we can do, and there's structural disadvantage. I mean, we have to recognize that we're structurally disadvantaged in Illinois as a Republican. They gerrymander the maps. They're gonna make it tough. They're so gerrymandered now that the Democrats are fighting with each other because it's too hard for them to figure out how to gerrymander one more seat, because it'll take, the Black Caucus will lose a seat to the Hispanic Caucus, and then they're all fighting with each other. So they've kind of run the tables on us as far as that's concerned. Locally, and I think this is an issue actually statewide as well, I think one thing is there's voter apathy when it seems like there's just a uniparty. I think the Democrats stand for something, and for better or for worse, they cater to their leftist, the furthest left of their party, right? Republicans have tended to moderate themselves, but what winds up happening is you have a party, and it almost sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes seems like it's a party, it's a uniparty you're choosing between, right? Sometimes it feels like if you vote for the Republican, you're getting someone right in the middle, or if a Democrat gets in, it's further to the left, but it doesn't ever seem like there's a candidate in a lot of districts or races, what have you, in this state that actually proudly stand for what the party platform is. And I think that's a mistake, because at the expense, or in the hope that you're gonna reach that swing voter, you're turning off and you're discouraging a lot of the grassroots conservatives who wanna help. Because at the end of the day, they look and they go, well, that's a anti-gun Republican who's pro-tax and pro-choice. And it becomes well, why would I care? All the contentious issues, they agree on every one of them with the other candidate. I think you have to have distinctions. You have to offer clear choices, contrast between here's what the Democrats offer and here's what Republicans offer. And I don't think the right approach is to have a party that says, well, we really hope to cater to, this group or that group, or, this voter segment, without just being clear that, like, hey, we want lower taxes. We support law enforcement. We believe in individual liberties, like your right to own a gun. And I think that's something that needs to be embraced more. And I'm not saying to do it to, extremist extent, but it should be embraced more and spoken about openly and proudly. I've had so many people who are either 30 seconds. I've had so many people who are self-proclaimed, Democrats who said they'd vote for me just because they appreciate with how honest I was. There was a Democrat gay couple that I knocked on their doors, and they said, well, you're not voting for Trump, are you? And I said, yeah, hear me out. I am actually, and here's why. And they respected it, and I was the only one that at that point had knocked on their doors. So I didn't shy away from it, I owned it, and I think, for better or for worse, I think they respected me for that. So I think that's something the party needs to do.
All right, well, once again, gentlemen, thank you for stepping up to run. You guys are friends, we're not here as opponents, we're here as a party. So thank you so much. So in closing, a couple things. Tomorrow night, county board meeting, 7 p.m. Be there or be square or be taxed more. Speak up if you can, but at least show up in a seat. Next Monday night, we're gonna be back here for our Thanksgiving celebration. So please join us next Monday. We're not 100% on all what we're gonna be doing, but we're gonna be here regardless, right?
Yep.
Okay, and, what was one more thing? Must not have been that important, so, thank you all for being here and for, being part of this conversation. We look forward to, seeing you and serving you again, so, have a great, oh, I know what it was! Take care of our bartender, take care of Jess, make sure you pay your tab and give a nice tip for them, so they feel, rewarded for having us here at this room, so thank you, that's it, good night, God bless, see you later.